It's time for my favorite video of the month, September's monthly build. This one will be special for, I guess, a couple of reasons. Number one, it's October, so I guess, yes, this video is technically at least a day late, but I can justify this. With reason number two, that this video is special, we get to use this case. This is the Snowblind Element from IBuyPower, and while the exterior might at first look familiar, the final product should be anything but. The Red Devil Radeon RX 5700 XT from PowerColor has arrived. Built on AMD's RDNA architecture and PowerColor's 10-phase Platinum Power Kit, the Red Devil features a triple fan cooler and massive heatsink for improved thermal and acoustic performance. Loaded with a metal backplate, RGB effects, and dual BIOS, the Red Devil is clocked well above other 5700 XTs on the market, ensuring you get maximum gaming performance with no compromises. Check out the link below to learn more. When IBuyPower got in touch with me and said that they were going to start offering their crazy Snowblind cases on the market as standalone products, of course I was pretty intrigued. After all, it's not every day that you see a PC case where the main side panel window is actually also a fully fledged monitor. It's based on the extremely popular NZXT S340, but clearly there have been some modifications done here. For starters, the front panel is now tempered glass with a very similar look and feel to what we saw on the recently released H510 Elite. Behind that glass, we find three 120mm white LED fans, and there's a reason for that specific color. IBuyPower told me that the Snowblind was made to work best with the contrast that comes from white or maybe silver components, and also white lighting. The more white lighting and componentry you can put in here, the better the monitor on the side will look. This has clearly informed our parts choice for the rest of the build, and although I'm not going to use a white GPU this time around, I think we should still be pretty good to go. Because the main feature of this case is clearly the side panel and I want to try out a few things on it, I'm going to truncate some portions of this video versus our normal monthly build series layout. So you won't see the time lapse of everything being put together, but you will see the end result and all the performance numbers. So we might as well touch on the only non-white part that we're going to be using today, and that's the Asus ROG Strix Gaming Radeon RX 5700. Come on with these names, seriously. This will be the first non-reference 5700 that I've worked with, and the massive and battle-proven Strix cooler promises to significantly improve on both thermals and noise from the reference blower model, not to mention that it's factory overclocked as well, so hitting some nice frame rates at 1440p should be a reasonable goal. Beyond that, everything else here is white, starting with the motherboard. This is NZXT's N7 Z390 board, a product that I've seen several times at trade shows but never actually used. Its main push is that it integrates both a Hue lighting controller and a Grid Plus fan controller, meaning that if you're all in on NZXT's case, cooler, fans, and lighting ecosystem, this can act as your main hub for all of your controls through their CAM software. Unfortunately, we won't really be leveraging this here today, but the board does have some pretty cool features like the fixed I/O plate and LCD postcode readout on the back of the board. Unfortunately, it does lack a 3-pin RGB header, but that's because it's made to be used with NZXT's proprietary fan and lighting connections. Under one of the removable slot covers of the board, we find our storage for this build, the HyperX Predator SSD. We're keeping it simple as we usually do for these builds when it comes to storage because this is the absolute easiest way to customize your build and tailor it to your needs. Pick whichever storage option works for you. You can see that I've already pre-installed our CPU cooler, which is the new Enermax ETS T50X in what turns out to be a very bright white finish. This is a revamped version of the original Axe cooler and sports a TDP rating of 230 watts. It has only one fan, but also a rotatable grill at the backside to channel airflow in whichever direction you need it to go inside of your tower. The reason that I mentioned that the motherboard is lacking an ARGB header is because this cooler does need one to control the RGB on the fan. And as such, we're gonna have to leave it rainbow. I hope this doesn't mess with our monitor experience, but I guess we'll find out. Underneath that cooler is Intel's i7 9700K, and You're just gonna have to trust me on that one. I don't have any footage of it. Although for the same price, even maybe cheaper, you can get an AMD Ryzen 3000 series CPU that comes with the same core configuration but also adds hyper-threading. The 9700K is still a great choice for straight up gaming, and also it would be really hard to fit a 3700X into this socket. Maybe not impossible, but you'd have to give it a pretty good go. For memory, I'm gonna go with Corsair's Vengeance Pro RGB with the white finish. And I'll also be configuring the LEDs to white, even though they can do all kinds of RGB stuff. This is a 4x8 gig 3200 speed kit and should be awesome for this project. And rounding out our parts list is the Cooler Master V650 Gold power supply. It's modular, it's 80 plus gold rated, it's not overly huge, seems like a winner to me. I'll also be tossing in some white end source cables as the cherry on top. So let's get this beast assembled, take a look at some performance charts, and then see what this side panel / monitor can really do. So this one was certainly interesting. While of course we've built in very similar cases to the Snowblind element, the end result is obviously unlike anything that I've ever put together before, and trying to game on this side panel is not something you should do. IBuyPower actually told me that when they sent me this case, because this is what I told them I was going to do, and they're like, that's not the best idea. It's not the best gaming experience. It's hard to see what you're doing because not only are you trying to look at the screen, you're also kind of seeing through the screen. It's very distracting. Combined with the fact that we don't have a white graphics card meant that the middle of the screen was just a big black bar. Not the best gaming experience. That's not what this is for. So the side panel here is really great at displaying widgets or animated wallpapers and things of that nature. What I put on here was something that reacts to music, and then I put a couple widgets on there showing like a couple of the CPU cores activity, RAM usage, up and down on the internet throughput, and the time and date. But you could put all kinds of different widgets on there using something called Rainmaker. The wallpaper was provided by something called Wallpaper Engine, which is something you could download off Steam. It's like $10 and they got a whole bunch of different wallpapers that you can use. But the end result is something that will catch anybody's eye that sees this, because a computer with a side panel that moves and changes is just, it's bizarre almost. My wife saw this and she's like, that's pretty cool. And she does not care at all about computers. So I guess that's something to take away. Now, as far as the actual build, putting all the components in here, this build experience is very similar to obviously an NZXT case, an S340 for the most part. I will say it is more difficult than building in a regular case, because this side panel is not only very heavy, but it's also permanently connected to the interior of the case and to the module that powers this monitor. That means you can't detach it, or at least I didn't find a way that I could detach it safely without potentially damaging anything. So you have this very heavy side panel that you will need to deal with while you are building in the case, and it doesn't just unlatch at the front. Like, there are two little latches up here that you have to depress every time to open it. So if you happen to be working around back and you need the side panel closed, then you need to quickly swing around the front and, you know, mess with some cables or something along along those lines. You have to open up the side panel again and then worry about the glass swinging around, and that made the build itself not that great. But the end result is fine, because this is just an S340, and the S340 was a good case to build in. So all the components fit, everything looks good, but putting everything together took a little bit longer than normal because you do have to deal with this side panel. Temperatures wise, the GPU was running great. Actually, after a half-hour load, it was sitting at 64C. Can't say the same for the CPU. I did overclock it to 4.9 gigahertz, and perhaps I should not have done that, because maybe this air cooler was not really meant to handle an overclocked 9700K. It probably would do fine with with either a stock 9700K or maybe something a little less power hungry, like probably one of the new Ryzen chips. But we were hitting 100C quite often when we were stressing this with Cinebench, and it was throttling. So during normal gaming load, that's not an issue at all. The CPU does not throttle, but if you're actually stressing it with this cooler, it needs more. The CPU needs more than that. So yeah, I gamed on September's monthly build, literally on it, which is pretty neat and something that I couldn't have said before. So thank you very much to IBuyPower for sending over their new Snowblind element. It is for sale right now. This is the first time they're putting these on sale, just the case itself. So you don't have to buy one of their systems if you want to build in here and you want to have this pretty cool side panel effect. But that is a wrap for September's monthly build. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Something a little bit different for us here on the channel. If you have any comments or suggestions or how you might use this kind of case, please let me know down below in the comments. Also, don't forget to hit up the merchandise store at bpscustoms.com if you want to help support us directly. Of course, get subscribed to the channel if you enjoyed the content. More to come, and I'll see you guys next time.